Well now, pull up a stump, friend. I got a warm mug in my hand, a cool breeze on my face, and a heart full of thoughts that have been stewing longer than Mama's Sunday chili. Today I reckon we talk about what the old folks, real old folks, used to say. I ain't talking about your Aunt Betty with the bingo wisdom. I mean folks who listened to the land, talked to the wind, and watched stars like they were family. Native American proverbs, truths carved straight out of the earth. And let me tell you, they sure got more sense in them than half the stuff on cable news. Only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish been caught, and the last stream poisoned will we realize we cannot eat money. Now ain't that a kick in the overalls? Seems to me we're living in times where folks act like money's the answer to everything. They pave over forests to build coffee shops where folks talk about saving the planet. But let me tell you something real plain. Money don't grow back. Trees do, if you let them. Fish replenish, if you stop scooping them out like popcorn. Water heals, if you quit pouring poison in it. You can't eat a dollar bill no matter how long you boil it. And if you try, it'll only leave you hungrier. There are two wolves fighting inside all of us. The first one is evil. The second one is good. Which wolf will win? The one you feed. Boy, if that don't hit like a bolt out of blue sky. See, we all got that inner tug of war, don't we? One side wants to yell at traffic, cheat on her taxes, and leave the grocery cart in the parking lot. The other side tells us to breathe, be kind, and help that old lady load her groceries. And every day we're handing out treats to one of them wolves. You can't stop the bad one from growling, but you sure as shooting don't have to invite him to dinner. So watch what you feed, partner. It might just bite back. When you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. That right there, that's the whole enchilada. We come into this life red-faced and hollering, and the folks around us smile and fuss and pass us around like we're the answer to prayer. But at the end, if we lived it right, did more good than harm, left our mark not with noise but with kindness, then when you take that final breath, the world will feel it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be grinning on the other side saying, well, dang, I reckoned I did all right. It is better to have less thunder in the mouth and more lightning in the hand. Whew, child, ain't that the truth? Talk's cheap, action's gold. I done met more folks full of big promises than a politician at a fish fry. Talking about what they're gonna do, how they're gonna change the world, and they ain't even taking out the trash. You wanna be somebody? Don't rattle on. Do the thing. Be the lightning. Let your actions strike while your words rest easy. Listen, or your tongue will make you deaf. Seek wisdom, not knowledge. Knowledge is of the past. Wisdom is of the future. The weakness of the enemy makes our strength. Now this batch here, that's port-sitting gold. First off, most folks don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. And in doing so, they miss the whole dang lesson. Listening ain't just good manners. It's survival. If you don't shut up, you're never gonna hear the storm coming. And seeking wisdom, well, knowledge will tell you a tomato's a fruit. Wisdom's knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. Big difference. And as for the enemy, well, sometimes their weakness ain't in their muscles. It's in their pride. Let them underestimate you. Let them throw shade. That just means you're already standing in the light.
Do not judge your neighbor until you walk 2 moons in his moccasins. Now this one's been around a long while, and for good reason. Folks today are quicker to judge than a raccoon on a corn cob, But truth is, you don't know what someone's carrying. That feller you're mad at in the checkout line, maybe he just buried his mama. That waitress who forgot your ketchup, maybe she's raising 2 kids and working double shifts. You walk 2 moons, not 2 minutes, in their shoes, and you just might hush up and lend a hand instead. They are not dead who live in the hearts they leave behind. This one hits different, especially after losing folks I loved. Truth is, we carry people in stories, in habits, in the way we hold the door open or laugh too loud at something dumb. If they taught you love, gave you strength, made you better, they ain't gone. They're stitched into your soul like your favorite flannel shirt. There is nothing as eloquent as a rattlesnake's tail. Now that's a poetic way to say warnings matter. You don't always need a speech. Sometimes a shake, a glance, or a long pause says more than 100 fancy words. And sometimes silence speaks louder than a preacher with a megaphone. It is less of a problem to be poor than to be dishonest. Ain't that the gospel? This old world's too full of folks trying to get rich quicker than a squirrel in a corn silo. But at what cost? You can live poor and still walk tall. But once you lie, cheat, or steal, even if you win, you lose, because you gotta live with it. And that's a debt heavier than a rusted out pickup in the mud. Well now, the sun's just about reaching over the pines and my coffee's cooled to the temperature of bathwater. But these words, they're still warm, still alive. Either you got a taste for the truth or just like hearing an old fool talk. Either way, I ain't judging. Come on up here on the porch. Coffee's hot, floorboards are creaking, and the crows are already gossiping up in the trees. Let's keep wandering through these old native proverbs. They're like trail markers on the path. Small, quiet, but if you follow them close, they'll keep you from walking off a cliff. A brave man dies but once, a coward many times. Let me tell you something, friend. Dying's not the worst part. It's all the hiding and pretending that wears a man down. Cowards spend their whole life dodging shadows and breaking into cold sweats over things that ain't even happened yet. That ain't living. That's just breathing in fear. But a brave man, he may get knocked down, sure, but he stands. And when the end comes, it only comes once, and it finds him looking it dead in the eye, not crawling under the porch like a scared raccoon.
Make my enemy brave and strong, so that if defeated, I will not be ashamed. Now this right here, this is honor, and Lord knows we're low on it these days. See, beating up on a weak man don't prove nothing except your own insecurity. But if you go toe-to-toe with someone strong, smart, and sure, and you come out standing, well then, that's something to tip your hat to. It ain't about winning easy, it's about winning clean. And if you lose, at least you lost to somebody worthy. That's a lesson the internet could use a big old dose of. The bird who is eaten cannot fly with the bird that is hungry. Boy, if this don't sum up the world we're living in. The well-fed and the hungry, they're flying in 2 different skies. The one who's full don't know nothing about the desperation in the eyes of the one who ain't had breakfast in 3 days. You ever try to have a fair race when one fella's riding a stallion and the other's barefoot in the mud? Exactly. Don't expect folks to keep up if you ain't carrying the same weight. Cherish youth, but trust old age. Ah, yes.
Now you see, young folks got energy, ideas, and a spark. But let me tell you, sparks without wood don't make no fire. Old age, that's the good seasoned wood. It don't catch fast, but it burns steady and long. Young folks will show you how to run. Old folks, they'll show you where to run to. Wisdom comes only when you stop looking for it and start living the life the Creator intended for you. That hits deeper than a well on a dry ranch. People these days chase wisdom like it's a TikTok trend, reading books they don't understand, buying crystals from gas stations, talking about manifestation while they ignore their mama's calls. But wisdom don't come with effort. It comes with alignment. You quit chasing and start listening to the wind, to the silence, to the rhythm of your own breath. And that's when it sneaks in, quiet like a deer in the fog. Not every sweet root gives birth to sweet grass. Now that one'll humble you. Just 'cause something starts out nice and sugary don't mean it ends up that way. Think about that sweet-talking boss or that shiny job offer that turns sour faster than milk on a summer day. Watch the roots and the fruit. Pretty beginnings don't always mean happy endings. Take only what you need and leave the land as you found it. Amen and hallelujah. If we just listened to this one right here, we wouldn't be swimming in plastic and breathing air that smells like burnt wires. The land don't belong to us. We're just borrowing it from our grandbabies. Take what you need, not what you want. There's a world of difference between the two, and the greedy don't seem to know the line.
It is no longer good enough to cry peace. We must act peace, live peace, and live in peace. This one speaks louder than a church bell on Sunday morning. Talking about peace while you're stirring up gossip is like praying with a mouthful of moonshine. Peace ain't words, it's work. It's how you treat your neighbor. It's how you don't honk when someone forgets to use their blinker. It's how you live when nobody's looking. When a man moves away from nature, his heart becomes hard. Boy, don't I feel this one in my bones. Go too long without hearing frogs croaking, wind rustling through the pines, or that soft crunch of dirt under your boots, and you start forgetting you're human. Ain't no surprise the world's angry. We've traded dirt roads for deadlines and fireflies for phone screens. Get back outside, plant something, watch it grow. Your heart'll thank you. Beware of the man who does not talk and the dog that does not bark. Now this is survival talk. It's the quiet ones you gotta keep your eye on. Not the loudmouth at the bar telling everyone how tough he is. It's the fella sitting in the corner, staring at his boots, thinking. Same with dogs. The yapper will let you know where he stands, but that quiet one, he's watching and waiting. And when he moves, it's already too late. Well, look at that. The coffee's turned cold again and the wind's picking up. These old sayings, they're like stars. You don't always notice them, but they're always there guiding you if you're willing to look up. Don't be in a hurry to learn it all. Just be still, be kind, and don't let your mouth outrun your sense. You know, folks these days, they chase pleasure like it's going out of style. Always wanting the next shiny thing, the next like, the next dopamine drip. But the old ones had it right when they said, our pleasures are shallow, our sorrows are deep. Ain't that the truth? You can laugh all night at a joke, but a broken heart, that'll echo in your chest for years. Pleasure skims the surface like a dragonfly on a pond. Sorrow digs roots. But here's the thing, both teach you. One just makes more noise.
It does not require many words to speak the truth. And Lord knows I've used too many already, but listen, when the truth shows up, it don't need no drum roll, just a whisper'll do. You ever had your grandma look at you and say, "I'm proud of you"? That's all it took, right? No speeches, no hashtags, just real clean truth, served quiet. Don't let yesterday use up too much of today. Now ain't that just like carrying yesterday's garbage into today's kitchen? We all done it, rehashing regrets, replaying dumb things we said back in 2009, acting like we can fix them by suffering. But yesterday's gone, darling. The corn's already been harvested. Best you can do is plant better next season, starting now.
If a man is as wise as a serpent, he can afford to be as harmless as a dove. This is gospel with a twist of moonshine. Folks think being kind means being weak, like you gotta choose between being smart or being soft. But this old saying tells the tale. Real strength is when you could do harm, but choose not to. Be sharp, be aware, but also be kind enough not to use that blade unless you truly gotta. Poverty is a noose that strangles humility and breeds disrespect for God and man. You see someone acting rough, always angry, maybe even dishonest? Don't judge too quick. Sometimes it ain't character that's broken, it's circumstances. Poverty ain't just empty pockets, it's a weight on the soul. And when the soul's hungry long enough, it starts forgetting how to be gentle. That's why we gotta help folks stand, not just shake our heads when they fall. Remember that your children are not your own, but are lent to you by the Creator. Now this one will choke you up if you've ever rocked a baby to sleep. We don't own nothing in this life, not even the people we love most, especially not them. We're caretakers, not kings. Our job's to raise them straight, teach them right, and then let them fly. You don't hold tighter than you should, or you'll crush their wings. Walk lightly in the spring, Mother Earth is pregnant. I love this one. Ain't just poetic, it's downright true. Spring is when everything's growing, breathing, trying to be born. Step gentle. Don't trample what you don't yet see. That goes for people too. Sometimes they're growing inside and you don't even know it until you stomp on them with your big old boots. Ask questions from your heart and you will be answered from the heart. Ain't nothing worse than small talk when your soul's starving. When you ask from your heart, from that deep, raw, scared, honest place, it changes people. They respond different. Try it next time. Skip the weather. Ask someone what keeps them up at night. You might just find a friend. There is no death, only a change of worlds. Look, I ain't saying I know what happens after all this, but I've seen too many sunsets, heard too many dying whispers to believe it's just lights out. Maybe it's not an end, just a door we walk through barefoot into some place quieter. No need to fear it, just prepare your heart like you'd pack a bag for a long journey. What is life? It is the flash of a firefly in the night. It is the breath of a buffalo in the wintertime. It is the little shadow that runs across the grass and loses itself in the sunset. Well, damn if that ain't the prettiest truth I've ever heard. Life is quick, slippery, and gone before you've even had time to spell your name in the dirt. But that don't mean it ain't meaningful. It means you gotta notice it. The firefly, the buffalo breath, the shadow. It's all whispering, you were here, you mattered. Now, let me end with a little porch light sermon, if I may. The world today, it's full of noise. Everybody's shouting, tweeting, pretending. And the good folks, the quiet ones with full hearts and calloused hands, they're sitting back,
watching the circus, wondering why the clowns are running the tent. Well, let me tell you something, friend. You ain't too small, you ain't too late, and you ain't too broken to stand up and do right. All it takes is a question from the heart, a choice to live in peace, not just talk about it, a willingness to lose the argument if it means winning someone's trust. Live so that when the sun sets behind your name, it casts a long, kind shadow, one folks will sit under for comfort long after you're gone. And remember, you don't need a sword to be a warrior. You just need a heart that don't quit and a soul that don't rust. So go on, watch the next video if you're hungry for more, or just sit with this for a while, like soup that gets better the longer it simmers. Whatever you do, don't miss the moment, because life, my friend, is already slipping across the grass.